My people, there is fire on the mountain. Breaking news. David Hundeyin has been declared wanted by Nigeria police.
An anonymous blogger using the Twitter handle at PDOM Nigeria published and distributed a restricted document on a sensitive matter of national security. District investigation was initiated to identify those responsible for the leakage, which led to the identification of Bristol Isaac Tamu Nobifri, Michael Temidayo Alade, and David Hundeyin as suspects in connection with the alleged crimes.
So, my people, let's hear direct from David Hundeyin, the wanted investigative journalist, about this new development.
Order was issued yesterday by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja to remand embattled Nigerian blogger Isaac Bristol, also known as PDOM, at the Kuje Correctional Center. The defendant's arraignment by the Nigerian police force are bordered on charges including money laundering, cyber crimes, and falsely levying a money laundering allegation against Nigerian President Bola Tinubu.
Meanwhile, after an investigation, the police has further revealed that investigative journalist David Hundeyin and one Michael Alade are Bristol Isaac, aka PDOM Nigeria's accomplices. The police force spokesperson Muyiwa Adejobi says PDOM was arrested following a petition from the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. A video circulated online showing Isaac and his legal team led by Deji Adeyonju in court after he pleaded not guilty to the 9-count charge leveled against him. Joining us now to discuss this and dissect this is the wanted investigative journalist, David Hundeyin. Good morning, David. Thank you very much for joining us. You are, again, you're wanted, and I know that this isn't your first radio, but I think it's important to ask. Right now is a really sensitive time for Nigerians. More importantly now, it's a sensitive time for you as well. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. As you rightly said, this isn't the first time the Nigerian state is coming after me in this manner. As recently as last year, there was a high-level attempt that was made by the National Intelligence Agency to illegally abduct me internationally from a foreign country. So it's been worse than this. And there have been other attempts that were made. There was an attempt to render me stateless. In the past year alone, I've had to change country twice. So when the attempt was made to illegally abduct me from Ghana, then I had to flee to Kenya. And then when the attempt was made to render me stateless in Kenya, then I had to move to the UK. So this is par for the course, and this is the price that you have to pay, unfortunately, when, as I said earlier, you decide to tell the truth when it's not fashionable to do so, and when you're doing so in the face of an establishment or a regime that sees truth-telling as a direct affront or a threat to it. So, you know, yeah. But it is what it is.
I did see your reaction yesterday, and of course you tweeted that, you know, your crime is journalism. But, you know, as quickly as you can, you know, give us like a quick breakdown of the trajectory between when, you know, the PDOM account reached out to you online, and then now you've suddenly been named as an accomplice. Did you see this coming?
Well, yes, which was why I decided to go public in the first place, because the manner or the circumstances under which this account suddenly decided to reach out to me and, you know, for whatever reason, give me access. And then the security events that started happening, the attempts that were made to hack my devices, which led to me having to replace them and all of that, made it clear to me that there's some kind of skullduggery going on, which I don't want to be a party to. The educated guess that I had then was that this is probably a state security attempt to rope me into some sort of, you know, I don't know, criminal investigation or whatever, for the purpose of creating a narrative basis with which maybe to try and discredit my international refugee status or something, just basically to make my life more difficult because, as you may know, it's not unheard of for countries like Nigeria to use the levers of security, such as Interpol, to try to go after political dissidents or political opponents, journalists, whistleblowers. It's a thing that Nigeria and other countries like it do regularly. So I was guessing that something like this would happen. And true to form, exactly as I thought it would turn out is exactly how it has turned out. They held a whole press conference. They had the force spokesperson read out a statement, and they named me as a suspect in an ongoing criminal investigation. The purpose of doing all of that is to create a narrative basis, possibly to put me on an Interpol notice list, which makes it more difficult for me to travel, and essentially just start sort of making the walls feel like they're closing in on me. Because typically when that happens, that makes it easier for the target maybe to start making mistakes and to do something which puts them in a position to actually get hold of this person. Because as you know, for whatever reason, getting hold of David Hundeyin is one of the most important security priorities now of the Nigerian DevSec establishment. It doesn't matter that you have actual, literal, real-life terrorists going on TikTok and showing off the money that they've made from kidnapping Nigerians, the ransom sums in crisp CBN banknotes. None of that is as important as getting hold of some journalist somewhere in the UK, because apparently that's what's going to make Nigeria a better place, and that's what's going to make the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu a successful one. So here we are.
All right, we'll come back to talk about you here. Let's backtrack a bit to PDOM and the role, the journey so far. What updates do you have regarding PDOM's case?
Well, so as of yesterday, the update was that he was remanded in prison by the Federal High Court. That's Kuje prison. His lawyer, Dijade Andrew, wasn't allowed to make an oral bail application, so it has to be written. And in the case of a written application, the police have 7 days to respond. So Isaac Bristol or PDOM is going to be remanded for at least 7 days. Prior to being arraigned in court, apparently and this is direct information from him because I spoke to him after his court appearance. I spoke to him on the phone. His lawyer was kind enough to put us on the phone. He says that the Deputy Commissioner of Police at the NCCC, the Deputy Director of the NCCC, actually visited his cell when he was in FCID detention and sprayed some sort of toxic substance into the cell. And since then, he's had extreme difficulty breathing. And if he talks, you can actually hear that in his voice. He can only talk for maybe 5 seconds, then he has to cough, and you can hear him wheezing. Clearly, something's wrong with him. He says he has lost all use of his left index finger. He can't feel anything. There's no sign of any blood circulating there or anything. And he has still not been given access to proper medical care. He also said that there was an attempt that was made to inject him with something against his will and without his knowledge, which thankfully was unsuccessful. And according to him, it was the publicity that was generated in the wake of his disappearance becoming public knowledge that even forced the FCID or the NCCC to even sort of put together those charges that they already put together to actually arraign him in court, because apparently they intended to just hold on to him indefinitely without anyone knowing. So as we speak now, he's remanded at Kuje prison, and he's going to be there at least until the 11th, which is 7 days from yesterday. That's the latest update.
Yes, can you clarify exactly who he says sprayed something into his cell?
He said, and I'm quoting him directly, he said it was the DCP at the National Cybercrime Center. That's the Deputy Director of the National Cybercrime Center under the Nigerian Police Force, who happens to be, by rank, a Deputy Commissioner of Police. So, the Commissioner of Police in charge of the NCCC is CP Uche Henry. So he says his deputy, whose name I've been unable to get hold of, that person visited his cell, even though he had no business doing that, visited his cell, sprayed a toxic substance into his cell. And since then, he has been unable to breathe properly, and he's having issues with his windpipe. He can't breathe or speak properly.
All right. And I'm hoping that, having spoken about this, David, that there'll be some investigation done regarding the allegations of the attempt on his life, even though I don't know how, many people have hope about that. But let's talk about treason. Treason against these men who were protesting. Some of the arguments that we've seen in support of this would be those who say that treason is attempting to illegally unseat a government, and especially because they were waving Russian flags. What grounds do they have to be able to charge them to treason, a crime punishable by death?
Well, first of all, let's be clear on something. Trying someone for treason under a democratic government is almost unheard of. Treason is it's essentially a military offense, right? So you try sort of soldiers who turn into fifth columnists, or intelligence agents who decide to play both fields. Those are the people who typically get tried for something like treason, or spies, foreign spies who carry out espionage, right? Now, when you have a group of civilian protesters being tried for treason, that, to the best of my knowledge, is unheard of in Nigeria, even under a military administration. Right? You can say that, so such and such person was holding a Russian flag, or they were calling for the military to take over or whatnot. There have been several such incidents across Africa. It's not unique to Nigeria. As recently as 2021, for example, 2022, when the coup in Burkina Faso, I believe it was, that brought Captain Ibrahim Traore into power, which he is currently. In the lead up to that coup, the people of Burkina Faso had been engaged in a nationwide protest movement for weeks. And in that protest movement, there were a lot of things that happened that were far in excess of anything that we saw during the End Bad Governance protests. There were all the flags of all manner of foreign countries that were being flown. Police stations were burnt down. Uniformed men were attacked. All sorts of things took place. And you didn't see anybody get tried for treason when the military government finally came in. Because it was understood that at the end of the day, whether it's a civilian government, a military government, whatever form of government, even a monarchy, governments exist at the mercy of the people. If the people don't agree for there to be a government, there is no government. The government can only exist when the people agree for the government to exist. So a government cannot go around sort of just, pardon my French, peeing on a great height from people on people and acting as if it derives no legitimacy from people on the ground and just doing whatever it likes. But in Nigeria now, we have a situation where the president and those around him seem to have completely given up on the idea that they're ever going to be a popularly accepted administration with any kind of legitimacy or credibility. They seem to have completely given up on that idea. It seems to me that President Tinubu knows and accepts that nobody likes him and nobody takes him seriously in that position. So he seems to be of the opinion that, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want and there's nothing you can do about it because I'm the president and I have the power and I'll show you what it means to have presidential power. If you recall, sometime in 2013 or was it 2014, he was quoted as having made a statement when referring to the then president, Goodluck Jonathan. He made a statement in Yoruba, but the translation went something along the lines of, this boy doesn't know what to do with power. Right? Clearly, now that he's in power, he feels like he knows what to do with power. He understands how to use the levers of state and how to use the tools of the security and defense establishment that he has at his disposal to do just absolutely whatever he likes. So, yes, protesters now are getting charged with treason, which is unprecedented to the best of my knowledge in Nigerian history. In addition to getting charged with treason, they're also getting charged with so in the case of Pidom, he was charged. If you read the first count on his charge sheet, it says very in plain English that his offense was that he promoted a political movement, or he promoted a movement with the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria, which sought to compel the Nigerian government to take certain actions that it may not have wanted to take. So, in other words, what that count said, what the alleged offense here is that under a democratic system, a citizen or a group of citizens sought to make their voice heard in such a way as to compel their government to do something which is in their interest, which, as far as I'm aware, is the entire purpose of democracy. So if you call yourself a democracy, but you are literally prosecuting people who are trying to do the things that are democratic, that are constitutionally protected rights under what purports to be a constitutional democracy and electoral democracy, then it then begs the question: is this actually even pretending to even be any kind of democracy anymore, or are we back to the days of Abacha under someone who happens to wear civilian clothing? Because the impression I'm getting now is that Nigeria is turning into Cameroon now, where we have one old man who has personalized the state. So, basically the way Paul Biya is, in the words of the French monarch of old, l'état c'est moi. Tinubu is now l'état in Nigeria. To the best of my knowledge, I can't think of any time in human history where a country with 200+ million people, the state of such a country has been personalized by one single individual, but we seem to be witnessing it now in real time, which is absolutely incredible to my eyes.
All right. I mean, there's still a lot more that I believe will happen in the next couple of weeks, months, but I want to also know, your links with, they, of course, have declared you wanted with regards to your links with PDOM Nigeria. So, can you share with us, did you have any, a long-standing relationship with him? Were you friends? Did you have regular interactions, anything of that sort?
I mean, yeah, he was a fairly well-known whistleblower, and I would go as far as to say that, despite some initial reluctance on my part, because, I tend to work alone, but yeah, we did strike up some sort of a friendship over the course of years. We weren't like working as a team or anything like that, but we did have a fairly cordial relationship. We did share information from time to time, because obviously journalists and whistleblowers do have to look out for each other, especially when it comes to security. And yeah, we did have a cordial relationship, something even approaching a working relationship sometimes. So yeah, I'm not going to deny that, because there's nothing to deny. I didn't do anything wrong, and for that matter, neither did he. So if it's the case that the Nigerian police force or the intelligence establishment, security establishment, is of the opinion that what PDOM Nigeria, who is alleged to be Isaac Bristol, has done somehow contravenes national security, then, to the best of my knowledge, how that is supposed to go in what purports to be democracy is that you're supposed to prove it in courts, as against just going on TV and doing a press conference and almost effectively declaring someone a criminal, because it seems like that's the new trend in Nigeria, that you are guilty until proven innocent, which contravenes the 99 Constitution. As flawed as it is, it still says that assumed innocence is a basic foundational right of a Nigerian citizen. It seems like that's no longer the case now. A police officer can just go on TV and just call people's names and effectively criminalize them. And there's, to the best of my knowledge, even though there's no constitutional backing for that, that just flies now. So the police PRO goes on TV and says that a journalist is wanted in the course of a criminal investigation. And somehow that is allowed to fly. I can't think of a time in Nigeria where it has been as bad as this. And this is happening under a supposed civilian elected administration. It's completely wild to me.
Right. I wish that we would have some time to bring in the Andrew Wine and, Lucky part of the conversation. If we do, maybe we can touch on that quickly. But how do you think this will end? For PDOM, for starters, how do you think it will end? Andrew Wine, on his own part, has said he's willing to speak with the Nigerian police. Are you willing to speak with the Nigerian police? And do you trust that there will be a fair investigation for PDOM? And in this case, now that you've been declared wanted, for you, will you submit yourself to them?
So first of all, I'm not going to dignify the word investigation with an acknowledgement, because when you're investigating something, it means that some wrongdoing potentially has taken place. This is a political, this whole thing is politically instigated. This is a political investigation. So I don't feel like I'm subject to anybody's questioning. If it was that there was some sort of criminal activity that was in question, then sure, I'd be happy to submit myself because I have never committed a crime, and I'd be happy to clear my name. This is not a criminal investigation. This is political persecution. So even under the terms, even under international law, everyone has a right to have freedom from political persecution. So in the situation that I'm in now, I don't see why I would, submit myself to speak to the Nigerian police force. I have nothing to talk to them about. And for that matter, neither does PDOM. The entire issue with him is that he has, his activities have caused severe embarrassment to the government, which is a political issue. In my case, it's even worse because my work has caused more than just embarrassment to the government. My work was very key in certain events that took place last year, which came very close to compromising the presidency of Bola Tinubu. Clearly, this man has a grudge. Everybody knows why Bola Tinubu has a grudge against me. It's not a secret. There's no journalist alive or dead that has come closer than I have to basically ruining this man's life, due to his own actions, by the way. This wasn't a personal thing. This is just a professional obligation that I thought I had, and I still have. So clearly he has a grudge against me. This has gone as far as the UN Human Rights Council. I'm sure I don't need to reference that again. I've spoken to the 54th session of the UN Human Rights Council, which held in Geneva on September 27 last year. And I said it to the world. The president of Nigeria is trying to create the situation for some sort of refoulement to take place so that I can be taken to Nigeria, tortured, possibly killed, because he has a grudge against me. I'm the one that exposed the fact that he used to be a drug dealer and, has all sorts of other question marks in his past. I'm that journalist. He clearly there's a political grudge there. That's what all of this is about. So, then sort of roping me into something which doesn't even have anything to do with me in the first place, and then, creating this whole narrative that, there's some criminal investigation and David Hundeyin is somehow implicated and he has a case to answer. We know what is really going on here. Someone wants to put my name on an Interpol notice list so that if I try and travel to the wrong country, even though the list is supposed to be advisory instead of binding, then that country might decide to do business with Nigeria. That's what all of this is about. There's a political grudge in Abuja. I'm at the top of somebody's list in Abuja. Somebody wants me returned to Nigeria to face the consequences for saying the unsayable. In Nigeria, it's as simple as that. And,
All right.
Well, I understand that politically speaking, whoever is in power has the right to be upset because, what I have done has been very damaging, both locally and internationally. But first of all, I haven't told a single lie. So, my conscience is completely clear. And secondly, even under international law, there are all sorts of protections against this. So I understand that for certain people in Abuja, rules appear to be things that are completely optional, right? But outside of Nigeria, that's not how the world works. So no, under no circumstances am I going to submit myself to the Nigeria Police Force. For any reason, the Nigeria Police Force has no jurisdiction over me.
My people, I hope you guys heard everything David Hundeyin said here. According to him, he's not going to submit himself to Nigeria Police. But my people, if you ask me, this is definitely misplaced priority. Yes, so because we have a lot of crisis in Nigeria that we believe that Nigeria security agency is supposed to be focusing, not on individuals that are criticizing this government, my people. So someone wrote this, which I quite agree with the person. Timothy said, but bandits and kidnappers are posting freely on TikTok without being tracked and arrested. It seems the expertise of the police only apply to those considered to be anti-establishment and not criminals, kidnapping and killing innocent Nigerians. Chai, my people, like a lot of things are really happening in Nigeria. Like, declaring David Hundeyin wanted is not what we need in Nigeria. Like, that is hardship. There is a lot of crisis in Nigeria. Nigerians are suffering because of ill policies this particular government are making. And most of Nigerians cannot come home anymore because of the level of insecurity And this is what our security agency is supposed to be tackling now, not to go after individuals that are just criticizing this government for them to do better. My people, I don't know what you think about this development. I would love you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Please, if today is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it as well. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next update. Goodbye for now.
Welcome to News TV.